y'all? So we're gonna talk about trust today. Why you need your property in a trust. All you gotta do is go to YouTube, type in, and you know what? Let me just go to my guy, Toby Mathis. Toby Mathis. Why do I need my property in a trust? All right, quick video.
Hi, welcome to Land Investing Online, where we teach students to flip vacant land for crazy profits.
Hey guys, a question I get a lot from real estate investors is what is a land trust? Why do people use it? What is all the hub? There's a lot of bad information out there, so I'm just going to give you the relevant information to help you make an intelligent decision. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, click the bell notification icon so you know when a new video is uploaded. Tax laws are changing all the time. The laws are changing all the time. That's why you're first to know, you're first to grow. So first off, every state allows sort of trust. And a trust at its basic inception point is three parties. And this is the easiest way to think about it. Is think about it like it's a triangle. You have your beneficiaries, the ones who are ultimately allowed to use the property. You have the party that runs it, who actually manages the property. And then you have the party that gives it, which is called a grantor or settlor. And all trusts have these parties in them. Anytime you have a living trust, an asset protection trust, shadow remainder trust, personal property trust, irrevocable life insurance trust, they're all just a version of the same thing with different parties and different requirements for who can act in what position. And so usually the title of the trust, like a dynasty trust, all that tells me is that it's a trust that's designed to last a long time. And some people go like, oh, I heard about this dynasty trust. It's just a trust. There's always going to be grantors, trustees, and beneficiaries. We're going to just have some relative idea about what are the qualities of that trust. Is it revocable? Is it irrevocable? Is it for tax purposes? Is it defective for tax purposes? Like we go down this line. So when we say land trust, we're really saying is a trust that holds land. Yes, there are states that have statutes. The most famous is Illinois, and they will call it an Illinois style land trust. And it's a fancy way of taking the beneficial use of a property and separating it from legal title. That's all it is. We're literally taking away what name is on the title from who gets to use and control that property. I hope there's some bells going off now for people when you realize, wait a second, the party whose name is on that title is not the party that gets to occupy or develop or use the property. Correct. That party whose name goes on the title is as a trustee on behalf of the trust. So let's call it the blue trust or the pink trust or whatever name. You could literally call them anything. And a trust cannot own something by itself. It always has to own it through a trustee. So think of it like a parent for a child. The child's name is not on the property. If the child is a minor, it's going to be the parent's name only because they are the only ones who can contract. In a trust, it's a fancy way of saying, hey, the trustee is the only name that's going to be on the title. The beneficiaries are sitting out there and they're not required to be disclosed. Now, there is a state that does require disclosure, Arizona, but most states don't. And then even then, we can still get your name off the title. That is why land trusts are so flippin' popular. It's not that it's an asset protection tool, because it's not. If somebody says, oh, I'm going to use a land trust and therefore I'll never get sued and da-da-da-da-da, no. Land trust has nothing to do with that. You have to use it in conjunction with another entity if you want the asset protection. But what they're fantastic at, what they're absolutely bar none the best at, is getting your name off of a piece of property. And consider this, you had 10 pieces of property, you had a slip and fall on one of them, and they pulled up your name and saw that you owned 9 other pieces of property. What are the chances of you getting sued right now? Very high. Hey, rich person, they've got a bunch of properties. They have something to lose. Put it on the flip side. Now assume it was one piece of property. It was in Blue Trust. They pull up Blue Trust and they see it has that one property only. That's it. And by the way, this trustee's name doesn't even have to be yours. You could have a professional sitting that, you could have a company sitting that. There are ways to get your name off of title. But this is why they are so popular for savvy real estate investors, because savvy real estate investors know that there's an extremely valuable component of keeping your name out of the public record when it comes to the real estate, because it minimizes risk and it keeps your affairs private. And it really is worth its weight in gold when you look at it from just that standpoint. Such an easy tool where all we're doing is separating out legal title from true beneficial ownership. And by the way, yes, we can take that beneficial ownership and we can stick it squarely within an LLC or some other entity. Yes, we can do that, no problem. But step number one is let's get the property out of your individual name. Once we get it into the trust, then the trust can absolutely do some more things. And the beautiful part is 99% of the time, there's not a paper trail in the public showing that this is going on. And that is one of the most effective asset protection techniques ever, is just making sure people can't easily determine that you're an attractive target. Now they're just going off of merits only. I'm not saying do any skullduggery, but people do not need to know that you've got 50 properties. If they do know you have 50 properties, your chances of being subject to needless litigation goes up exponentially. In fact, I think it was Mark Cuban who said one of the worst parts about being wealthy was having to deal with all the lawyers, because people are always trying to take it away. The homeless folks are not getting sued to take away their assets. It's the people with assets that get sued. And if you can prevent the public from just willy-nilly being able to see what you own, it's an extremely effective tool.
All right. So basically, it's a buffer between people knowing the actual owner of the property, and it's a way of, it's not exactly 100% asset protection, but it's a way of nobody knowing the property. So if nobody knows who owned the property, then they can't find you to sue you. Okay, so this is why you need to put your property in a trust. Okay, let's look at another video. Let's look at this one.
Hey guys, Toby Mathis here, and I recently did a video on the superpowers of land trust, and I've been getting a little bit of a kind of a question and comment going back on those. A, thanks for your comments. B, here's kind of an answer. When do you use the land trust? I use a land trust whenever I want anonymity of ownership, and you can do that in all 50 states. Where I want to make sure if I want to take my name off of an asset, I certainly can do it. Number two, on a property and I want to protect it, I may go straight into the trust so I can avoid due on sale, or at least the appearance that it's going straight into an LLC. And there might be some tax ramifications, like in Florida, there's dock stamps. And like where I'm at right now in Clark County, we have transfer taxes on certain things, so we're trying to avoid that. And it works really, really well in both of those situations. It is part of an asset protection plan. Hey guys, Toby Mathis here, and I recently did a video on the powers of land trust, and I've been getting a little bit of a kind of a question and comment going back on those. A, thanks for your comments. B, here's kind of an answer. When do you use a land trust? I use a land trust whenever I want anonymity of ownership. You can do that in all 50 states. Where I want to make sure if I want to take my name off of an asset, I certainly can do it. Number two, if I have debt on a property and I want to protect it, I may go straight into the land trust so I can avoid due on sale, or at least the appearance that it's going straight into an LLC. And there might be some tax ramifications, like in Florida, there's dock stamps. And like where I'm at right now in Clark County, we have transfer taxes on certain things, so we're trying to avoid that. And it works really, really well in both of those situations. It is part of an asset protection plan.
Okay. Let's watch this one.
Welcome, guys. Today we'll be talking about land trusts and their appropriate uses, especially in real estate. I'm going to demystify it, break it down into its little pieces, give you guys a bunch of examples on how they're used and who uses them and why, and when they're appropriate and how they work together with an LLC. So we're just going to jump right in. Before we do that, I do want to ask you guys, if you could, click that like button and the subscribe button. It helps with the analytics and gets the message out, and also lets me know what you guys actually like. I'll bribe you with a picture of one of my cats. Boom. There we go. All right, let's jump in. I'm going to share out a screen and put myself up in the corner so you can kind of see it. And we're just going to be talking about land trusts in general. But I do like to kind of draw out who the players are. I'm going to start right away with kind of the three main players. So there's something called a grantor, a trustee, and a beneficiary. Anytime you have a trust, you have these players. There's always three of them. The grantor in some circles is called the settlor. That's who's creating the document and putting in the asset. So in a land trust, this is usually the party who's contributing the real estate. The trustee is whose name is on title. And so when you're dealing with a land trust, it's nothing more than an agreement between these three parties. It's a paper agreement. There's no repository for it. The only way somebody even knows it exists is because there's a name on a title somewhere. So if you go into a county record, you might see, hey, here's so-and-so trustee of the such and such trust, right? This is no different than a living trust, by the way. They're both grantor trusts. They're both revocable. The land trust is just there to hold real estate. I'm getting way ahead of myself. The trustee is whose name, and this is really just going on title on a property. And I want you just to really think about that for a second. This is just the person who's out there, or entity who's out there to hold title. They're the disclosed party to hold title. Like if I go buy a house and I'm buying it, I'm putting my name, unless I create a trust. In which case, now I have a trust, but the trust name isn't sufficient. We always have to have a trustee. So it's kind of like having little kids. The kid can't own anything. They're not the age of majority yet. So you always have a parent who's holding it for them, right? In a trust, it's similar. The beneficiary's name is nowhere. The beneficiary gets to do things like rent the property, collect the rents, sell, all this good stuff. All the benefits, occupy, all that stuff is with the beneficiary. The only thing the trustee gets to do is put their name on title. They're just acting on behalf of the trust. Grantor is the one who creates it. And by the way, grantor can go through and revoke it, can change it, do whatever they want with it. Like the grantor is in a really good spot because, or during their lifetime, I'll just say that, because it's a revocable instrument. You're entering into an agreement that you can change at any time. So hopefully some light bulbs just clicked off. Like some of you guys are starting to figure this out. Wait a second. So it's really just to hold title. Yes. Is there any asset protection over here? Does the beneficiary get any asset protection? Now when it's revocable, zero, zilch. That beneficiary is fully exposed as though they own that property. They have all the liability that goes along with it. What about the trustee? No, trustees aren't. Their only liability they could have is perhaps to the beneficiary. Trustees don't have any liability here.
And a trustee is basically your employee. You're just because an individual is a trustee, it doesn't mean they have any control. Okay. Yes, the trustee can do certain things, but they're only supposed to do it if you, the beneficiary or the grantor, tells them to do it. If they do it on their own recognizant, on their own, that's illegal. Okay, that is illegal.
Trustees just putting their name on it. But in both those cases, guess what we do? We still want to avoid any possible negative stuff that could go on with a disclosure of that trustee on title, and also any liabilities that could occur by having a beneficial interest in that property. Grantor, not worried about. We're not really worried about that. We're just going to say, hey, don't even worry about the grantor. We'll just take them out of the equation. What we really care about is the two parties that have interaction with the public. So
all a grantor is the individual setting up the trust. Okay, that's all a grantor is an individual setting up the trust. Like, for example, I could be the grantor because I have this property or I want to purchase this property, but my offsprings and myself can be the beneficiaries. And then I can set my lawyer up or anyone I want to be the trustee, or I could set myself up or one of my offsprings or my woman, anybody I can make the trustee. Okay. So, but all three positions play separate roles. The trustee, the grantor, and the beneficiaries all play different roles. All a trustee is just a representative, a White House representative. That's all they are, is a representative. The grantor is the individual giving the power to the trustee and the beneficiaries. Okay? The beneficiaries are the ones that actually own the property, control the property, and have use of the property.
the trustee, their name is on title. So we use an LLC for that because we don't want your name disclosed.
And that's another thing. It doesn't have to be necessarily a living being as the trustee. It could be a LLC. You could put a LLC as the trustee.
So we like to use an anonymous LLC for that. So we would use a Wyoming LLC for the trustee position. And before you completely lose your mind, yes, this is legal. And in Wyoming, we don't have to disclose a party. So you literally you can have anonymous ownership. And again, I always get these people like, you can't do that. What if they're lost?
So what he's saying is, if you set up your LLC in Wyoming, they don't show the registered agent of the LLC in Wyoming. I think Wyoming and Delaware, they do not show the registered agent of the LLC. So you could be absolutely, completely anonymous. Okay? Which you can start off making yourself the LLC. You can start off making yourself the trustee, and then in the future you can switch it up to making your LLC the trustee. Or if you want to go ahead and set up the LLC now, you can do so. It's up to you. When we're doing this rental own process, you do have time to do all this stuff because, again, you're not going on the title right away. Once you pay the property off, you go on a title and deed. And that's when you definitely need to make a decision who's going to be the trustees, the beneficiaries, and all that good stuff. Mainly who's going to be the trustee, I should say, the LLC or you or whoever, because that's going to get recorded in the county clerk of courts. All right.
You can't. What law? Right? This is common law. There's about maybe 15 states that have statutes and that don't have restrictions like that. The beneficiary could enforce it. If hey, you're not supposed to. You're supposed to have a natural person. Okay. If there is that situation, whose right of enforcement is it? Sitting over here with this beneficiary, you're going to sue yourself? Kind of doubt it. So what you do is you use that LLC without a name attached to it. So it's anonymous LLC. I call it security through obscurity. If they can't see it, they don't know you're involved, they're not going to sue you for it. Right? So, and this works in reverse. If somebody can't find all the assets you have, and let's say that, hey, let's say you get into a car accident, and you hit a stockbroker, right? Stockbroker's rich, and they're going to sue you for $3 or $4 million bucks, right? You want to end the nonsense. Hey, come on, that's not a legitimate claim. Come on, you're getting crazy. Maybe you hurt them, but still they're inflating the value, or they think they can get that, and they go to the lawyer. Lawyer's looking for a contingency fee, and they see a automobile insurance policy. Let's say it's $500,000. That's what they're looking at. They're going to maybe do a profile on you. They're going to get their buddy, the PI, to do a profile on you and see what assets you hold. If you're using a land trust, guess what is not showing up on your asset search? Any real estate that you have. What about your house? Could we make your house disappear? Yeah, we actually could. Oh, but they might see a mortgage. If they know about the property, and they know you probably have a home, but let's say they figure that out. The rest of it is your investment properties. Like, this is rich people stuff, right? Where they say, hey, you got 10 rentals. The last thing you'd want to do is tell everybody, by the way, here's my 10 rentals. Here's how much equity is in them. We don't want to voluntarily give that out to somebody because they may use it full to try to hurt us. And so in this particular case, let's say that you got into a car accident. It's somebody who thinks that they could inflate the value of the claim because they could say, hey, you hurt somebody who's a real high income producing individual and now they're restricted. Maybe they want to be able to work the same. Whatever the case, you have this large liability looming. Only if they have assets that they can collect against. They take a look. They don't see a bunch of assets. So the attorney who's trying to do the best by his client says, let's settle for the insurance proceeds because that's a burden of hand. We don't want to wait 3 or 4 years to go through a whole bunch of lawsuit and a lot of added expense. You got to hire all these experts. It's going to be tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds. And I don't want to work that hard for my 30% or 40%, whatever the cut is. And it's uncertain whether we'll even be able to collect. We really need to just settle this thing right now. That's 99% of the cases, by the way, is you're just trying to get it into a settlement posture. If they can't see everything you have, you're much more likely to get into that settlement posture. And that's what we're doing here. By the way, what actually shows up on title? So I'm just going to give you guys an example. Let's say that we put 1, 2, 3 Main Street we have a piece of real estate, and we put that into the trust. How do you put it into trust, by the way? Like, is this filed with the state? No, you're actually putting it in via a deed. So a lot of times it's a warranty deed. Some states it might be a quitclaim deed, but let's just say we're putting it in a warranty deed, and all we're doing is changing the title. And I like to use the actual address in the name of the trust. So I might call the trust the 1, 2, 3 Main Street Trust. And then it's going to be by its trustee. And let's just say this LLC appears called ABC LLC. By its trustee, ABC LLC. So what ends up on title? I'll show you exactly what ends up on title. What ends up on title is the 1, 2, 3 Main Street Trust, dated. I like to put the date in there so to find, separates it from any other Main Street Trust, 1, 2, 3 Main Street Trust. But let's just say it's January 1st of, 20XX, whatever it is. Whatever date you actually sign it. So whatever, so hopefully you're not signing things on New Year's. But let's just say you did. So 1, 2, 3 Main Street Trust, dated such and such, by its trustee, and I just put it ABC LLC. That's literally how that thing's going to be titled. Notice what's not on there. You or your LLC. So remember how I said we still want to protect the beneficial interest? We're going to put that into an LLC as well. So we're going to have two LLCs. One that is again, you're not doing this necessarily on one property. Hopefully you have multiple properties that you're putting this into. You might do this on a situation like for your house where you don't want people to be able to find out where you live, depending on what your profession is. Like if you're a doctor, especially a psychiatrist or a therapist or somebody dealing with some folks that you may not want to know where you live, or law enforcement already has this, but let's just say you want to be a little extra careful. You don't want people to know where you are, or you're somebody who's wealthy, or you have family that annoys you, or you've been the victim of abuse. You want to make sure that nobody can figure out where you live. You can do this easily, even with your home. And again, some people's heads explode when you say, by the way, you can literally keep your name off of title. Your name does not appear anywhere. We just did this. That's exactly what would be on title. Period. Full stop. Well, what about that ABC LLC in Wyoming? You don't have anybody listed. Well, the Main Street Trust that you got, surely you have to file it with the Secretary of State. No, you don't. It's simply a trust agreement signed by the three parties. You remember our trustee, and our beneficiary. And then we take the beneficial interest and we assign it to an LLC. The reason we do that is because if a liability occurrence occurs, it's stuck inside the LLC. If you have a fire, somebody falls down the steps, whatever, it's stuck inside this LLC. Nobody sees that LLC. We just assign it to the LLC, but it is not on title. In other words, when I look up 123 Main Street, I do not see the LLC that's holding the beneficial interest on title. It's not listed. It's not in a public record. It's not sitting there available for somebody to look at. Guys, this is so effective, especially for people that don't want to have an LLC for every single property they have. If you're somebody who really likes to invest in real estate like me, and you're buying lots and lots of properties, sometimes you don't want to, especially in a particular state. You may say, you know what, I don't want to have an LLC for each property. It's too expensive to maintain. Maybe your state is like my state where it's $400 a year or $800 a year, whatever it might be. You may say, you know what, I want to have 3 or 4 properties in an LLC. And here's a way you can keep anybody from knowing that your LLC has 3 properties in it. Use land trust. There's no filing fee for it. The only thing you have to worry about is the deed transfer. Depending on your state, it could be $10, it could be $25, $50. I don't even know if there's any that are really much more than that. It's pretty inexpensive to do a deed transfer.
All right, he's getting a little technical now. But if you guys want to watch the rest of this video, that's the information on there. Toby Mathis, Esquire. I saw this one. Let's see what he's saying.
Now, what are some of the benefits? Why would you want to set up a land trust, and how would we use it? Well, number one, why would I want to use a land trust? Because I don't want to hold title in my name, like I've been talking about. So that's the first reason why I don't. So how do I do that? Well, I have to come up with a trustee that's not me. That's why if you watch my trustee video, I talk about using possibly a limited liability company as your trustee. And so that way it gives you anonymity, so that if I took title that was once in my name that had Clint listed on it, and I transferred into this trust, and I call this trust the Funky Charlie Trust with Blue Box LLC as its trustee. Now, if somebody looks at title to this property, they're no longer going to see my name. They're going to see the trustee's name and the name of the trust on title. So now I've just provided myself anonymity. So that's a compelling reason to set one of these up. Now, what are some of the benefits? Why would you want to set up?
All right, guys. So you guys have the gist of it, a basic idea of a trust and protecting your property. Any questions? Please put in the comments. I do answer the comments. And I'll talk to you guys later. Please like, subscribe, and share. Peace.